So, hello and welcome to this session where we're going to continue our analysis of the essay on Superstitions by A.G. Gardiner. As we have already seen in the previous sections of this essay, where Gardner is attacking on the prevalence of the superstitious beliefs even in the modern age, in the continuation of which, let's see what Gardner says next. I'm reading the text. But these shadowy reminiscences of antique credulity which we discover in ourselves play no part in the lives of any of us. He's saying that, but these shadowy, these dim and vague recollections of the ancient gullibility, of the ancient past, which we discover in ourselves, which we find that we are still practicing them unconsciously or consciously, we are in the habit of them, but they play no part in our lives. They do no good to us. They belong to a creed outworn. Actually, these superstitious beliefs belong to the creed which has already been or which has become outdated. So the superstitious beliefs, but it is not there. The scene is that the creed is outdated, but superstitious beliefs or ideas which belong to an outdated civilization or outdated past, it is still prevalent. Superstition was disinherited when science revealed the laws of the universe and put man in his place. With the advent of science and technology, it is very evident that with the advancement in science and technology, which opened up new vistas of knowledge, superstitions were disinherited to a large extent, and it has shown science and technology, or the reason and rationality, has shown the man the importance of his rational outlook. But here, with this line, what Gardiner seems to suggest or seems to lament, it seems that he is lamenting over the fact that even after the discovery of the laws of universe, man is still superstitious. He has not got over his superstitious beliefs and ideas, as it was believed that with the advent of science and technology, these superstitious beliefs will be vanished, but it didn't happen. It was no discredit to be superstitious when all the functions of nature were unexplored and man seemed the plaything of beneficent or sinister forces. We can see at first, we should see the first line, then we'll read further. It was no discredit to be superstitious when all the functions of nature were unexplored. So to be superstitious in old time, in the ancient time, was acceptable to some extent, because at that time the mysteries of nature were not explored. They were not explored. But with the advancement in science, as our knowledge increases, we come to know that these superstitious beliefs are baseless. It is the product of our fears, and it is because we will see that man being fearful, and it was the helplessness and the fear of man which gave the rise of certain superstitions. So it was no discredit to be superstitious when all the functions of nature were unexplored, but now we have explored them too. If it is prevalent, then it is a matter of concern, and man seemed the plaything of beneficent or sinister forces that he could neither control nor understand, but which held him in the hollow of their hand. So when mysteries of natures were not raveled, or they were unraveled, then what man used to think? He used to think that there are certain mysterious forces which are ruling the world, and it was not in the control of man. It was not under human control. So he used to think that he was merely a plaything in the hands of the powerful and frightening forces of nature. And as he used to think that those mysterious powers which are ruling the world, they are both kind and cruel. So that's why he had no other option but to succumb, or but to surrender his or to rely upon the hints or the indications or signals given by those mysterious forces in nature. That's why it gave the rise of rise to superstitions, as he is saying that man seemed the plaything. He used to think that he was just a plaything, nothing is under his control. So that's why he is just a puppet in their hands, in those mysterious forces which he thought that they were ruling the world. He related everything that happened in nature to his own inexplicable existence. So what in ancient time, what man used to do, he used to predict everything on the basis of natural phenomena. So and it was but natural. In the old time, it was very natural that man developed many superstitious beliefs, because he was trying to find ways to save himself from the calamities about which he knew nothing. He didn't knew the logic or the reason, the physical reasons behind them. That's why superstitious beliefs developed. So his fate in the clouds, his happiness or misery announced in the flight of birds, and referred every phenomenon of life in the soothsayers and oracles. So he believed in the fate, in his fate, like clouds, thunder or storms, as he used to think that it is these thunder storms or the flight of birds are the actually the through this, those mysterious powers which are ruling the world are showing their wrath or pleasure, or they are guiding or warning to man, or they are indicating man something. So that's why he used to do this guesswork after watching these signals, which he used to think that they are the signals from any mysterious power. So this happened when he was ignorant. Announced to the in the flight of birds, and referred every phenomenon of life to be to the soothsayers and oracles. So in old times, man believed in oracles and omens, and looked for, or he looked for his every single move to the oracles or to the soothsayers, or to the activities happening around him in his surroundings. You may read now in this next paragraph, Gardiner is mentioning certain incidents of the past, especially those incidents of the past in which fate completely turned the other way, just because of the people's faith in the superstitious beliefs. So the case he is giving, the first case he is giving of the Greek historian Thucydides. I'm reading the text here. You may read in Thucydides of battles being postponed and lost, because some omen that had no more relation to the event than the falling of a leaf was against it. So what was the case of this Greek historian Thucydides is that he declared the postponement of a battle just because a leaf fell against it. When Pompey was afraid that the Romans would elect Cato as praetor, he shouted to the assembly that he heard thunder. So the next incident is related to Pompey, the Roman general, who, when apprehended that Romans would elect Cato was a Roman Stoic philosopher, when he apprehended that Romans would elect Cato as Roman general, so he shouted at once in the assembly that he heard thunder. And since it was the belief of the Romans that they would not proceed any process, if there is thunder, they would not proceed anything further. So what would have happened? The elections got postponed due to this declaration by Pompey, and got the whole election postponed, for the Romans would never transact business after it had thundered. Alexander surrounded himself with fortune tellers and took counsel with them, as a modern ruler takes counsel with his ministers. And even Alexander the Great, he too believed in the words of fortune tellers and soothsayers, and he used to take advice from them, just like a modern ruler takes advice from his ministers. Even so great a man as Caesar and so modern and enlightened a man as Cicero left their fate to augurs and omens. So, even the great men like Caesar and Cicero were superstitious people. Caesar, who was a great Roman general, he also believed in the oracles and omens, and he also took decisions. He consulted soothsayers, fortune tellers, and he took decisions after hearing his fate from omens, or after hearing his fate from some soothsayers or oracles. So, and the next line, the here in the next line, Gardiner is citing the case of Cicero. Cicero was a Roman general. He was a great Roman statesman, orator, and lawyer who left his life to be decided by superstition. What happened with Cicero? Sometimes the omens were right and sometimes they were wrong, but whether right or wrong, they were equally meaningless. There is no sense in them. Cicero lost his life by trusting to the wisdom of Prose when he was in flight from Antony and Caesar Augustus, he put to sea and might have escaped. So, what happened with Cicero? That he believed in the signals given by Prose and lost his life, while he could have saved it, or he had already saved himself in his battle with Antony and Caesar Augustus, but it was when he believed on the signals of Prose and endangered his life, and thus he was murdered or he was killed at the shore. But some crows chanced to. So what happened? I'm reading it. When he was in flight from Antony and Caesar Augustus, he put to sea and might have escaped. But some crows chanced to circle round his vessel, and he took the circumstance to be unfavorable to his action, returned to shore and was murdered. Even the farmer, the next example Gardiner is giving is related to the farmer of ancient Greece. Even the farmer of ancient Greece consulted the omens and the oracles, where the farmer today is only careful of his manures. So in these lines, Gardiner is stating or telling that even the farmer of ancient Greece were dependent much on the oracles, instead of trusting on their farming skills, which is very much in the contrast, or unlike modern farmers who are more careful for manures and fertilizers rather than oracles and omens. And then there is this last paragraph. I should have liked to have seen Caesar, and I should have liked to have heard Cicero. So in this last paragraph, Gardiner very beautifully sums up that he too would have liked to, or would have loved to see Caesar and heard the oration of Cicero, but he might not have enjoyed their age, which was shrouded by the darkness of superstitions and oracles. But on the balance, I think we who inherit this later day and who can jest at the shadows that were so real to them have the better end of time. So what Gardiner is elucidating here is that okay, yes, Caesar and Cicero were great men, but the modern people are better off, because they can laugh, they can jest, they can laugh at the superstitions, those superstitions that mattered so much to the ancestors, that they strongly abided by to those ideas. So the ideas which were strongly abided by the ancestors, the modern man can laugh at due to his advancement in knowledge, or due to his enlightenment in terms of knowledge, can just at the shadows that were so real to them have the better end of, they are better off. It is pleasant to be about when the light is abroad, and it is better to rejoice light when there is no darkness. It is better to rejoice light. So what here Gardiner is saying, that when the light is abroad, that this is the time we have more knowledge and more awareness. So in a sense, he wants to what he wants to convey is that we are that as that we are very much fortunate that we are born in a modern age when man knows much more about nature and natural occurrences, and that's why he don't go for any he don't take natural occurrences or physical surroundings as omen or oracles. So we do not know much more. And what he further says, Gardiner, we do not know much more of the power that turns the handle of this idol show than our forefathers did. So next he is clarifying the fact that though still we don't know much about the power or force behind the life and creation, we are still ignorant about that power or force which is behind the life and which turns the handle of this idol show, which is behind the life and creation. And certainly our forefathers were great visionaries, but then too we are better, and we are blessed in a sense, because but at least we have escaped the grotesque shadows that enveloped them. But that we are better in a sense because we are no more governed by the shadows of those strange beliefs like them. We do not look for divine guidance in the entrails of animals or the flight of crows, and the House of Commons does not adjourn at a clap of thunder. So at least here he is citing some examples and trying to tell that at least we do not look for instructions in the intestines of animals or the flight of crows, like old people, or like the superstitious beliefs prevalent in the past. And the House of Commons, and the best thing is that the House of Commons, the lowest house of the Parliament of UK, is not suspended or postponed due to a roar of thunder. Thunder is roared, that's why. So in other words, we don't postpone our important programs and activities on account of some omens. So this was the essay on superstitions by A.G. Gardiner, where he suggests that in the modern this modern age of science and reason enables us to examine the relevance and validity of the superstitious notions. And and what will it do? It will save us from the and this examination, this critical examination will help us that we will not get guided by the irrelevance ideas and practices. So that's all for today. Thank you for your attention.